Hello, welcome back to 340 Peddler, and today I want to talk about a checklist for the last week before the race. Of course, we're almost exactly right now a week from the 2018 MR340. So I've got a quick checklist to run through of things you may not have thought about, or maybe you did, but it was back in March and you're not thinking about it now. Also, some of these points will repeat from a previous video, some will not. So it's kind of an evolution of a previous checklist I did last year about a week before the MR340. My goal, of course, is to get you to the start with this list. The rest of the videos get you to the finish. So let's get started. First off, wash your boat. Why would you wash your boat? After all, it's got all that beautiful grime from training. You've got a beautiful water line built up. Well, first you want to knock off that 12 pounds of extra gunk that you've picked up from the Missouri River. But there's actually a more important reason for washing your boat. And by the way, the reason I started washing my boat was originally superstition, figuring if I took care of my boat, the boat would take care of me. But there is a better reason, which is you're looking for damage. When you wash your boat, you're usually going over it fairly carefully, making sure everything has been cleaned, all those little odd stains, etc. And what you may find is damage from training. And this could be something where a rock put a big gouge in the hull that you didn't notice, or whatever else. Where a week before the race, you can probably get that fixed, or even post on the forums or on the Facebook page about what the problem is, and we can probably come up with a shade tree mechanic solution for you. So wash your boat. Go over it, make sure everything's working. This includes looking at the rudder pedals, looking at the rudder lines, looking at the rudder, looking at any foot pegs you have, looking at the seat, making sure everything is in good repair. The last thing you need on the 340 is for the wrong bolt to come out and suddenly your seat doesn't work and you're 10 miles into the race. Second, test load your boat. And I apologize to the team involved. I didn't realize I'd grabbed two pictures of the same boat. But what I want you to do is take your boat, go down to the local launch or wherever you practice, load it up completely for the race. All the water that you will be carrying, all the food you will be carrying, all the other materials you will be carrying. Because what I want you to do is launch the boat and test it out. You don't want to find out that your boat is poorly trimmed or that it's unusually tippy with the load at caw point. You want to figure that out beforehand when you have plenty of time to think of the problem and come up with a solution. You will also want to make sure that everything fits in the boat. It's amazing how many people will show up to caw point, and that will be the first time that they load everything into their boat, simply trusting that their boat can carry everything that they want to get downriver. Next, I want you to move your fully loaded boat onto land. You see, during the race, you will stop at checkpoints, and there will be volunteers in your ground crew, and they can always help. But if you stop elsewhere, so you stop at a sandbar or wherever else, that's going to be a problem, because now you have to move your boat high enough onto the sandbar, or heaven help you, high enough onto a boat ramp that it's out of the current and you don't have to worry about barge wakes and that sort of thing. So you need to know that you can move that boat. If you can't, you probably need to unload some things. And it also gives you an idea of how to move that boat with that much weight. Next, I want you to capsize your boat. Now, this sounds stupid. I've got all my cool, new, fancy, and clean race gear in it. I've got my GPS, I've got my phone, I've got my stereo system. I want it all to be nice and clean. But there's a point to this. You probably won't capsize your boat during the 340. Most people will get through the race without it. But if you do, you want to know what is going to fall out, what's going to be a problem, what's likely to go floating downriver, never to be seen again, etc. What needs to be tied down and how. So, capsize the boat. Find some place that you're comfortable with. Maybe go to a beach or off a beach. Maybe you can pay someone off to let you use their pool. In my case, I live in the lake country of Wisconsin, so we have a lot of shallow lakes with a nice sandy bottom so that I can go ahead and capsize the boat and just stand up. But you want to do that. At the same time, you want to do some recovery training. Do at least a few reps where you are testing your recovery. Capsize the boat, see what it does when it capsizes, and then practice getting back in the boat. Of course, that's pretty much the most important thing here before you start picking up all of your materials. Next, create plans B, C, D, E, F, and G because plan A will fail. And I hate to say this, but I've never known a paddler to get through the 340 with plan A. The reason is there's just too many variables. There's fog, there's storms, there's rock and roll. It's too crazy to create a plan that's going to work. And you all have a plan right now. Most of you probably have certain times that you're going to get to certain checkpoints, etc. But can you predict a Volkswagen in the river? No. Unless you're in Marion or Hartsburg, where this seems to happen regularly, you really can't predict these things. You never know what's going to happen on the river or what's going to feel good or whether this man is sleeping or dead. Maybe he's dead. Maybe people are just ignoring him. Who knows? It's the 340. So come up with extra plans. What will you do in these various situations? Next, I want you to rest. Of course, with sleep, you can create a sleep debt. And you want as small a sleep debt as possible going into the 340. Of course, you're already pushing your body to the limits on the 340. And I say that whether you're going to finish in 36 hours or 86 hours, you're still pushing yourself to limits that your body probably doesn't regularly get to. So you want to take care of any sleep debt before you get to the race. If you're the kind of person who short sleep all the time and sleeps 3 to 4 hours so you can get to work, etc., you're going to want to start napping now so that you're ready. Hydrate. And this isn't just 20-ounce curls. What I'm talking about is whatever you drink regularly. I want you to be drinking a little bit more of it starting now, and more especially the last 3 days or so before the 340, because hydration doesn't take place just the morning of the race. Your body needs to be hydrated for a little ways before the race. You sort of think of it as topping up as you move closer and closer. To be a little bit vulgar, you should be peeing clear or ever so slightly yellow. You should be going to the bathroom every 20 friggin' minutes on Monday. So make sure you're drinking. Make sure you're not flushing out too many electrolytes. So make sure you're getting plenty of salt, etc. But make sure that you're drinking. And this can be anything. This can be whatever you normally drink. The only thing I would stay away from, personally, is alcohol. But even that is entirely up to you. Next, heat train. Now, this is not the crazy heat training that you hear about sometimes, people in sauna suits running around when it's 90 degrees. The time for that has passed. Just like right now, you can't make up your training. If you haven't trained, you haven't trained. Accept it and prepare. But in terms of heat training, what I'm talking about is turning off the air conditioner, going outside more. If you work in an office with air conditioning, then get outside as often as possible. If you drive a lot, then drive with the AC turned off. If you're really crazy and you have no friends, go ahead and turn the heat on. Then you'll sweat quite a bit. But you want to get your body used to the heat because the heat in Missouri is very different than a lot of other places. And if you live in Missouri, this might not be an issue. But if you happen to live in the north woods of Wisconsin or in Minnesota or Michigan, etc., where the highest temperature we've had this year is about 90, you're going to want to heat train because you're going to go down there in at least one day on the 340 because it always happens. There's going to be some kind of heat warning where they say, don't do anything outside, don't leave the air conditioning, and we're preparing to race 340 miles down the Missouri River. So just get your body used to it. It will hold off any issues of heat exhaustion. What it's going to do, even that little bit of turning off the AC, etc., is going to make your body a little more efficient with dealing with heat. double check everything. You will forget things. That is why God created Walgreens or Walmart or Wall Store, whatever shop you like to go to. You will forget things, but you want to make sure you have the important things. So what I personally do is I will start packing very early in the week, mostly because I have an obsession that probably is bordering on unhealthy with the race. And then I will double and triple check everything. You also want to make sure that you have redundancy for certain things. For example, I have way more food packed for my food bags than what I'm likely to actually eat. I have a ton of spare batteries, probably 3 times more batteries with me than I will need on the race. Well, my ground crew has them, but either way, make sure that you have everything and make sure you have redundancy for everything of importance, because if it can break, it will at some point on the 340. This is a tough race, not just on you, but on your equipment. And then lay out all your stuff. Take a picture like this. And then what I want you to do, and just trust me on this, what I want you to do is take a picture like this and go ahead and just draw a line right down the middle. And then just like Thanos, snap your fingers and make half of it disappear. Trust me, you probably didn't need it anyway. You don't even need that half of the paddle. Let's be honest. You can paddle with this half of the paddle. It's fine. So go ahead and get rid of half your stuff, or just give it to your ground crew, and it will lighten your boat and make your life a little easier. Someone once figured out that an extra 8 pounds carried down the 340 will cost you approximately 30 minutes on your race time. So, that being said, and my pop culture reference being made, let's get you down to the race. Let's get you to Caw Point, and hopefully I will see you all happy and smiling starting on Monday, and then in tears because you are so happy to see the finish of the race sometime on Friday. Until then, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, quarrels, qualms, quandaries, curse words, leave them in the comments below. And I am 340 Paddler, hoping that you keep your paddle in the water.